Number 10. The Sea Peoples. The Sea Peoples are one of the least understood ancient civilizations that thrived in the Mediterranean region, but for only about 100 years. They sprang up in the year 1276 BC and then mysteriously vanished in 1178 BC, though not before being one of the largest reasons for the Bronze Age collapse. The thing with the Sea Peoples is that they were less of a civilization and more of a confederacy. They were a group of naval raiders from coastal towns who got together and decided to cause mass mayhem. Specifically, they concentrated their destructive efforts on Egypt. Nobody knows exactly what ethnicity these people were, and our only sources of information come from Egyptian descriptions of battles in which sea people showed up and caused devastation. Historians believe they could have been rogue tribes from Mycenaean or even Minoan, but nobody really knows for sure. Ramesses II gave the most information on the Sea Peoples, describing how they completely annihilated them after they pillaged just about every major port in the Mediterranean. Before trying to invade Egypt, they did so much damage in the region, they caused an almost total collapse of civilization for hundreds of years. Number 9. The Mycenaeans. The Mycenaeans are an ancient civilization from what is today Greece. In fact, the Mycenaeans are considered to be the original Greek people. They were the first civilization to speak the Greek language, popping up on the Greek mainland somewhere around 1650 BC. Sure, they were influenced by the earlier Minoan civilization that lived on the island of Crete, copying much of the writing system, their social structure, and their artwork. But they were the original Greeks for all intents and purposes. Later on, when Greek civilization flourished, they would look back on the Mycenaeans as legends. They looked to their old palaces and megalithic structures and told stories of the lost civilization that came years before them. They even believed the Mycenaeans were a race of super giants, since the palaces they built were so big, it seemed impossible for ordinary men to have constructed them. But like the Minoans who came before them, the Mycenaeans ultimately vanished from the history books. It wasn't until 1876 that the archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann discovered proof of the Mycenaeans high up in the Greek mountains. He uncovered artifacts of the lost civilization, as well as palaces and tombs. And thanks to him, we know exactly where the Greek culture comes from. Number 8. The Grand Canyon Forbidden Zone. In the year 1909, there was a newspaper article published by the Arizona Gazette stating that explorers in the Grand Canyon uncovered ancient artifacts from people in Egypt. The article explained that an explorer by the name of G.E. Kincaid, along with Smithsonian scientist S.A. Jordan, uncovered man-made tunnels deep in the Grand Canyon, filled with Egyptian relics. They uncovered golden urns, copper tools, hieroglyphics, and even mummies. At the time, these discoveries were labeled as proof that the ancient Egyptians had made their way to North America and started their own city in the Grand Canyon. But here's the deal. No one knows where any of those artifacts are today. Some theories say that the Smithsonian scientists came in and took every last scrap of evidence away. Though of course, the Smithsonian denies this fervently. They say the article was just 20th century nonsense. But the fact remains that there is a forbidden zone in the Grand Canyon, where ordinary people are not allowed to go. There are also no-fly orders over specific parts of the Grand Canyon, almost as if nobody wants ordinary people to see what's hidden in the deep valleys. What do you think is hiding in the Grand Canyon? Why do you think this information is kept so hush-hush? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 7. Where is Atlantis? One of the most mysterious civilizations is that of Atlantis. The island nation was first described by the Greek writer Plato 2,400 years ago. He described it as an imperial superpower of the ancient world, possessing one of the largest armies and some of the most advanced technologies of the day. But unfortunately for the Atlanteans, they fell out of favor with the gods, and their great island was tossed into the sea. For the last 2,000 years, there's been a lot of argument over whether Atlantis was a real civilization or not. Some claim it was simply a fictional city-state made up by Plato, while others believe it's very real. But if it's real, just where exactly is it? There are a few theories, though keep in mind none of them have ever been confirmed. Based on Plato's description of Atlantis, it was located somewhere near the Mediterranean Sea. It could have been on the island of Sardinia, Malta, Cyprus, Crete, or even Santorini. Some even believe Atlantis is on the bottom of the Cyprus basin, undetectable under nearly a mile of water and thousands of tons of sediment. What do you think? Where could it be if it truly exists? Number 6. The Harappan. The Harappan civilization flourished between 3300 and 1300 BC, extending their great empire from modern Afghanistan to Pakistan, and even further into northwest India. You may also know them by their other name, the Indus River Valley Civilization. They were one of the most advanced people in the entire world, introducing a standardized system of weights and measurements for trade, learning how to work with copper and bronze, and creating their very own script. They also had unique systems of government, and like many of the ancient civilizations of the Old World, the Harappan vanished, probably because of climate change. The first trace of these ancient people was discovered in 1856 by British colonial officials overseeing the construction of a railway line that would connect the city of Lahore and Karachi. They found hundreds of thousands of bricks under the ground, which they actually used to help construct their own buildings. It wasn't until the 1920s that archaeologists really got involved and realized they were dealing with something big. After a lot of research, we now know today that the Indian civilization likely came from the Harappan. When their cities were abandoned around the year 1800, they likely migrated south and spread throughout India. Number 5. The Lost Civilization of Maw. Nobody knows if the mysterious land of Maw was ever actually a real place or not. First mention of this unknown land came from Augustus Laplungian after investigating Mayan ruins in Yucatan, eerie similarities between ruins in Mexico, Greece, and Egypt, and proposed there must have been a civilization that connected them. He proposed that there was once a large landmass in the Pacific Ocean called Maw, and it allowed contact between the civilizations of South America and those in the Mediterranean. Since then, many scholars have run with this idea, believing it was through the lost land of Maw that all these ancient cultures managed to come up with similar symbols, similar pieces of architecture, and almost identical myths. If real, the lost civilization of Maw would be a reasonable explanation for why there are so many historical coincidences all throughout the ancient world. But unfortunately, nobody has ever found evidence of this land. It's been compared to Atlantis, with many believing Maw sank long ago and is currently hidden somewhere deep in the Pacific Ocean. Number 4. The Buried Pyramid. A huge pyramid-like structure on the Indonesian island of Java may just be proof of a lost civilization. The mysterious structure was discovered atop Mount Padang, with some experts saying it could be one of the oldest megalithic sites on Earth. This place is so old that it's covered by a dense layer of soil, foliage, and even trees. It was likely built over 12,000 years ago, so nature has reclaimed it almost entirely. It was only found after workers took drilling samples from the top of the pyramid, which, from the outside, simply looks like a mountain. They found that below the vegetation and soil, there is a subterranean structure. Underneath the surface, about 10 feet down, was a second layer of similar rock columns, thought to be 7,500 to 8,300 years old. And a third layer, reaching 49 feet below the surface, is more than 9,000 years old. And according to researchers, it could even date to 28,000 years ago. Their study also detected multiple chambers underground. Unfortunately, nobody has really gone in to actually dig the pyramid out yet. It's still completely encased in soil. Plus, most mainstream scientists have yet to acknowledge that there is an ancient pyramid, over twice as old as those in Egypt, hiding on an Indonesian island. But according to Danny Natawajaja with the Research Center for Geotechnology at the Indonesian Institute for Sciences, the pyramid is legit. Danny has been studying it for years and believes it's evidence of a civilization from prehistory, an early group of humans that built structures thousands of years before any other group on Earth. They have no name. Nobody knows when they existed or where they went. And so far, this pyramid is the only proof we have that they were ever real. Number 3. The Aztecs. When Spanish forces arrived in Mexico in the year 1521, They did their best to wipe out just about everyone. This includes the most famous ancient civilization from what is today modern Mexico, the Aztec. We know that the crusading Spanish tore down their temples and built Christian churches over top of them. We know they slaughtered them by the thousands. But what you might not know is that the Aztec are still alive today. They just lived their lives a little differently than their ancestors did 5 centuries ago. The truth is that the Aztec people were not completely wiped out. Today, the descendants of the mighty Aztecs are called Nahua. There are more than 500,000 Nahua still living in small communities throughout rural Mexico. Far from the warriors they once were, these modern Aztecs spend their days farming and selling traditional craft to tourists. They also no longer believe in the ancient Mesoamerican gods. Their beliefs have fused with Christianity, meaning that while they go to church, they also sometimes practice medicine by uttering incantations and participating in blood sacrifices. Though in modern times, they only sacrifice chickens, not people. Number 2. The Lost Civilizations of the Amazon. Thanks to satellite images, researchers have uncovered proof of an ancient civilization that once flourished deep in the Amazon jungle. In fact, there may even have been several different civilizations that lived here. Hundreds and hundreds of geometric shapes have been found in the Amazon basin, taking up an area of about 155 miles in any direction. These shapes are the leftovers of buildings and earthworks, and even roads connecting one village to another. Even though all traces of the original buildings are gone, their imprints remain. Scientists are now beginning to understand there was a major pre-Columbian power residing in the jungle as far back as 1250 AD. There may have been up to 1 million people living in the area, according to National Geographic. The big mystery now is trying to figure out what happened to these people. How did a civilization with a population of 1 million just vanish? Experts are still working to understand how the Amazonian civilization broke apart, resulting in hundreds of small tribes living primitive existences in the jungle for hundreds of years after. Number 1. Easter Island. The civilization of Easter Island has captured the imagination of scholars, archaeologists, and pretty much everyone on Earth. They are known as the Rapa Nui, and nobody really knows what happened to them. We know that they probably came from Polynesia or South America. But why a small group of people traveled 1,300 miles from the mainland to live on a small island only 64 square miles still baffles experts. The experts also don't understand why the natives moved here and then built giant stone statues, which you probably know as the Easter Island heads, all over the landscape. It was a remarkable achievement, but one that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's believed that the Easter Island people used so many resources to build the statues, what they called moai, that they actually ran out, ultimately leading to their decline. One of the main theories as to how the Rapa Nui people vanished comes from the geographer Jared Diamond. He claims that Rapa Nui is a perfect example of humans exploiting the natural resources to such a point that they can no longer sustain themselves. Basically, the island went from tens of thousands of people to a small population of only 1,500 by the time the Europeans discovered the island in the 18th century. They cut down the trees, ruined their fields, and ran out of wood, primarily because they were so obsessed with building the huge statues. What's your favorite lost civilization? Can you think of any others that belong in a video like this? Let us know in the comments down below, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and come back again for more great stuff from the channel. See you next time. Bye!